we'll find the breath-based connection and get that almost sense of the meditative flow that we're looking for in a boat as much as we are on a yoga mat. So I kind of look for the complements there and the ways that we can begin to kind of rethink some of the ways that we move our bodies, think about those connections and our connections in the boat, and things that we can take from our mat into the boat as well. So today we're especially going to be just really getting ourselves back into the post-Christmas, everything moving, getting into some of our joints, especially we're going to look at some hip opening and some shoulder opening. We'll be thinking a little bit about rotation, seeing if we can get a bit of balance, especially if we've got rowers rather than scullers, tend to end up a bit lopsided. So we'll try and balance out a little bit of that. The main things from my perspective for you are just to really listen to your bodies. Don't do anything that hurts, any squeaking joints, creaking knees, just back off. And I will offer ideas for props and modifications, maybe having a blanket or a cushion in places if anything is annoying. So really the main thing is just, if you have an injury, let me know about it. If you are working within constraints, which we all are some way or another, then just honor those and really listen to your own body as you go through it. The main thing we'll be looking for is that breath-based connection, finding our flow and getting a little bit of joy out of it, and hopefully protecting our bodies and optimizing our rowing. So I'm going to get onto my mat and let's do it. We're going to start off taking a seated position, and just take whatever position you find most comfortable. I'm going to use a cushion here to help me to get my hips open. You often find if your hips are a little higher than your knees, then they'll open a little more easily. For some of you who might do yoga often, you might find yourself in a narrower close in the cross. For others, feel really comfortable to have one foot in front of the other shin. What you probably want to avoid really is tucking, the kind of cross-legged we got taught in primary school, tucking one shin under the other. Actually, it gets you to tighten your hips a little bit because the knees float. And so the brain immediately says, oh, I've got to protect these joints, and our reflexes to tighten up. So the more you can maybe bring one foot a little bit further forward, the more your shins will drop and your hips will open. And again, another option there is to put something under both knees. And that's really not taking a cheats way or an easy way out. It's actually the best way to get the message to your hips that they can really let go. And as we let go and sit for longer like that, then we'll start to get some kind of opening. So we're going to start then finding our seat, really seeking to take the area between our pubic bone and our coccyx and see if we can make that really weighted. If we can get some weight into our hips, into that space at the root of our spine. And from that weighted sensation, see if we can begin to draw our navel gently back in towards our spine and allow some space to develop between the vertebrae of the spine. So as if we were taking a little bead and popping it between each of the vertebrae, lengthening our spine, and thinking of the position you would really want to see if you had a beautiful crew in a boat with their long straight spines, if a cord was pulling right up out of the crowns of their heads and a weight was drawing their tails down. They're engaging the core so that they have some strength and connection across from the hips and the core into the spine. And then lengthen up here and just take 3 nice deep breaths. Inhaling, allowing our bellies to expand, our ribs to expand right across our chests. And exhaling, drawing our navels in towards our spine and using that inward draw to flush all of the stale air out of our lungs. And again, inhaling, allowing our bellies to expand, feeling the air fill a rib area, come right into the back between our shoulder blades, right into the front under our collarbones, widening out our collarbones, and exhaling gently, drawing our navels in towards our spine, and just doing this at your own breath. Don't find yourself waiting for me to finish. And a last inhale and exhale at your own pace, really allowing the full vessel to fill, and exhaling steadily and evenly, drawing your navel into the spine and flushing all of the air out. And I always like to start the classes with just one single Om chant. It's a really nice way of connecting the breath and the body and feeling the vibrations in the body as the air reverberates around the different cavities that we want to engage in our rowing activities. So the Om chant that you hear has three parts. The Ah reverberates in our belly area. The Ah reverberates around our rib area. And the reverberates around our throat and palate area. And then when we've made the Om, we just wait for a moment and try and get a sensation of the breath and the vibrations reverberating in our body, connecting all those parts of the body that we're going to be wanting to work with. So we inhale all together, again, finding that really great big full inhale. Exhale completely, flushing it all out. And then this time we'll inhale for the three-part Om. And just in that moment of reverberation, let's see if you can step out of the day that you've been in. Really step into your yoga practice. See if you can make this movement like a moving meditation, exactly the kind of moving meditation that you get in a boat on the water. Okay, so finding your inhale and exhale now, seeing if maybe we could inhale just through our nose and exhale just through our nose. So maybe sealing our mouth. So inhale for 4 through the nose. Exhale for 4, drawing that navel in towards the spine, using your own count now. Inhaling again for 4. You might stick with 4 as your exhale, or you might extend your exhale to 5. Again, on the next inhale, you might keep it at 4, or maybe you want to inhale up to 5. No straining. And exhaling to your 4, your 5, your 6, whatever you're exhaling, make it at least one longer than your inhale. And one last time. So my favorite quote is Ian Robertson's from the Institute of Neuroscience. He says that extended slow breath is the most precise pharmaceutical that you can administer for yourself, like a little mini reset for your brain. And for us, finding that breath, finding that connection with the body, with the core action of flushing that air out, is really a habit we want to get into. And if you can hold on to that all the way through your practice tonight, then you'll be doing your body and your brain a really good favor. So we're going to keep inhaling and exhaling through our nose. And now we're going to inhale as we raise our shoulders up, squeeze them up right to our ears, and exhale to really let go, let them drop. Inhale, squeezing, maybe squeezing your fists, really feeling like your shoulders are reaching your ears, and exhaling to let go. We tend to overwork our traps, so it's really good to let them go. One last time. Inhaling all the way up to the ears, squeezing, 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 and exhaling, really letting it release. I'm going to do a couple of side lengtheners. So I'm going to take my left hand and press it into the mat, my left hand side. And as I inhale, I'm going to raise my right arm up. But as I'm raising my right arm up, I'm trying to see if I can keep my right hip pulling down towards the ground. Take an inhale and an exhale there, imagining you're actually pulling your shoulder in the opposite direction to your fingers. And then exhaling to release and bring your right hand down, pressing your right hand firmly into the mat. So we do the same on the other side. So we're inhaling, floating that arm up. See if we can leave the trap out of the equation. Really think about pressing the hip down, floating the fingers up. We're going to exhale there. Inhale again there. You might even begin to think about rotating. So if you're trying to get your palm round to face the wall behind you or the back of your room. And we're going to exhale and release all the way back down to the mat. One more time on each side. So again, really think about that foundation of the left hand, pressing through the little pads of the fingers. We float the right arm up, trying to keep as much space as we can between the shoulder and the ear. Don't let the trap take control. Hips drawing down. And your pinkies may be spiraling round towards the back of the room. And then as we release, we're going to exhale that back down to the ground, pressing down through that hand, finding the seal with the right hand and inhaling, floating the left arm up. See if you can still be pulling the left shoulder down as if the shoulder and the fingers were reaching in opposite direction. The fingertips are reaching up and out, your shoulders drawing down towards your left hip. And then releasing that left hand back down towards the mat and shaking out your hands, maybe shrugging your shoulders, walking your shoulder blades down your back so that you're really opening up across your chest. And we'll do a couple of neck rolls here. So inhaling, staying really tall. So again, finding that spine. If you've lost the space between the vertebrae, see if you can find them again. Be tucking your chin, just retracting it slightly to get the length in the cervical spine, and exhaling to drop your right ear down towards your right shoulder. Watch out for the left ear, it's going to try and sneak up. Inhale as you very gently and slowly roll your head from right across to left, and then exhale as you roll from left across to right. Inhaling as we roll round the back from right to left, and exhaling to roll forward. When you come to the center, inhale, find yourself back up tall, re-engage the core, lengthen spine, retracting the chin, being really tall. Inhaling there, exhaling to drop the left ear down towards the left shoulder. Again, watching that right shoulder. If you pull it down, you'll really feel a lengthening across the traps. Inhale to roll round the back from left to right. Exhaling to roll forward, right to left. Very slowly, very gently with your neck. One more time round, inhaling, left, over to right, and right. Dropping and lolling forward till you come to the center. Inhale up. Find that length in the spine again. Navel drawing towards your spine. Chin retracting, feeling really, really tall. And we're going to come onto a kneeling position for a moment. Again, you can maybe pop like a wee blanket under your knees or pop something between your heels and your bum if that makes it more comfortable for you. I'm going to put my hands onto my knees. And we're just going to do a seated cat-cow to get that spine moving. So we've thought about the length and extension in the spine, that height that we want as we sit tall, but we also want some flexibility in that spine as well. So as we inhale, I'm going to let my hands slide up my legs as I open my chest, let my belly come forward and really find some length and opening in the spine. As I exhale, I'm going to suck in through my navel, let my hands slide down my legs towards my knees, my shoulders rounding forward, and I'm going to find that arching in my back, really curving it round. And one more time. So inhaling, letting the belly come forward, letting the chest expand and reach forward. Your hands might be sliding up your legs. And exhaling, sucking in through the navel, letting the chest hollow out. Your hands might slide down your knees. Your head's going to roll forward a bit. And then inhale your way back up to center. And we're going to keep working on that spinal flexion for a few moments. I'm going to come onto my hands and knees, and we're going to do a little spinal wave. So I'm going to do this with blocks. If you've got a couple of sturdy books, that would work for you. Or if you can just do it straight on the mat, however is most comfortable for you. So if you come onto your hands and knees, possibly using a couple of books or a couple of blocks, your hands are going to be a little forward of your shoulders. We might need to shuffle a bit until we find exactly where you want them to be. You're going to inhale where you are and exhale to curve your spine like we were doing in that seated position, and push your bum in the direction of your heels. So it doesn't really matter if it actually meets them or not. But from there, negotiate the position for your hands. What's a good reach for your hands, whether they're on the blocks or whether they're on the mat? We're going to inhale there, exhale there, and inhale one more time. On your next exhale, you're going to suck your navel in towards your spine, really round the spine until it starts to bring your bum away from your heels. Press through your hands, either on the blocks or on the mat, maybe keeping your head tucked down, really keeping that curve in the spine until you can't keep it any longer. You keep letting your weight come forward, and eventually you can't keep the curve. And at that point, you can let your hips drop and let your chest suck through the fronts of your arms. Really seeing if you can get a sensation as if you were trying to pull the mat or pull the blocks back towards your feet and your knees, and your chest to suck right through the tops of your arms. So exhale, going to suck the navel in, reverse that. We're going to drop our head. Find that curve in the spine again, as much curvature as you can make, pushing through your hands, finding the curve, and pushing your bum in the direction of your heels again, and just sink down for a moment. If your hands are on the block, you might even just explore what it's like to tiptoe your fingers away and see if you can feel a real extension in your armpits and down the sides of your lats. Really good place for us to dig into. And we're going to do that one more time. So you're going to take an inhale where you are. And as you exhale, you're going to press into your hands, sucking your navel. Find the curve in your spine. Your head is dropped. Pushing through the hands, bringing the weight forward, but keeping the curve as long as you possibly can. And when you can't keep it any longer, let your belly sink down, your chest open wide, almost as if your shoulder blades are sliding down your back and pushing your chest forward. And then inhale, let your head drop, let it sink, press through your hands, find that curve. And if you are using blocks, you might want to get rid of your blocks now. And we're going to come to an all fours position, this time with our hands actually underneath our shoulders and our knees underneath our hips. And spread your fingers as wide as you possibly can, creating a seal with the mat. So it's almost like if you were to pad your fingers up, you could hear the like a sort of bar mat sound coming off the bar table. And the same with our toes. We want to see if we can spread our toes and almost imagining we've painted our toenails and we're trying to leave an imprint on the mat. And the more we press down through our hands, through our toes, the lighter we might find that our core area is. Sucking our navel into a core and taking a moment to see if you can find where your neutral spine is here. So you might want to drop your belly, round your belly, drop your belly, round your belly, just till you find the spot which is really neutral, and that will be supported by your navel. And that's a spot that we're really looking for when we're sitting tall. So we'll do a few cat-cows from here. So still really thinking these are much harder than they normally seem if you are really pressing your toes in and putting some push into your hands. So as we inhale, we're going to drop our navels, allow our spines to extend, and really feel like we're sucking our chest through the front of our arms, feeling as if our hands are, the base of your hand is dragging towards your knees, even though it's not actually going to move. As you exhale, sucking the navel in, dropping the head, finding as much flexion as you can in the spine, maybe coming right up to your fingertips like little tents in your hands, and finding as much flexion as you possibly can. Inhaling, we're dropping that belly again. We're sucking our chest through our arms, imagining our hands are pulling towards our knees. Toes are still pressing into the mat. And exhaling, letting your head drop, letting that full curve emerge, maybe coming right up onto the tips of your fingertip, like a scared cat. And then releasing to a neutral position. And we're going to do a couple of thread the needles here to get a little bit of rotation into our spine as well. So re-establishing your neutral spine position, finding your hands spread wide and underneath your shoulders, your toes pressing into the mat. And you can take your left hand and move it into the middle, so it's more like it's underneath your face. And as we inhale, we're going to draw our right arm up the inside of the left arm. And for this first one, maybe take the back of the right hand and place it against the left side of your sacrum. And using that lever between the back of the hand and the sacrum, still pressing the left foot into the mat, see if you can really open up your collarbone area. And for some of you here, you might want to extend now that hand up and out. But you don't want to make that extension if that makes you close down the collarbone. Exhaling, we're going to thread the right hand underneath the left armpit and bring the right shoulder towards the floor, so in that direction. If you are reaching the floor with that right shoulder, I want to allow a little bit of weight to come onto a little bit of compression so we can get some release across the scapula and across the tops of the arms. And just take a breath or two there. You're going to inhale to come back up to the all fours position. Try and remember what that rotation felt like on the right hand side. So again, establishing the seal with your hands. We're going to take our right hand, place it this time into the center. We're still pressing our toes into the mat, using our cores to help us here. And we're going to inhale, drawing the left hand up the inside of the right arm, opening across the collarbone, maybe taking the back of the left hand onto the right side of the sacrum and using that lever, pressing down with the right hand and using the lever with the left hand to open up across the collarbone. Still seeing if you can press down with your right toes into the mat. Draw your navel in, see if that helps the rotation. And for some of you, you might want to inhale your left arm up if that doesn't compromise the opening. And then exhale and thread the left hand right underneath the gap of the right arm, bringing the left shoulder in the direction of your mat. Again, if it's not reaching here, you could pop a cushion or a blanket or a block underneath here. And see if you can maybe find a space where you can find some compression in the left shoulder. We do a lot of building in the arms and across the back area, often because we're not being our most efficient. So anywhere we can compress this, release it. Yeah, a little bit of release in the fascia is good for us. And then inhale, back up to the all fours position, and think back to which of your two sides, your right or your left, felt like they were maybe the bit stiffer, could maybe do with a little bit more love. And we're going to do that side one more time. It'll often be the side that you find yourself rowing on in a boat if you are a rower and you're not always perfectly balanced. So whatever side it is for you, take the opposite hand, place it in the center right under you. I'm going to do it with my right arm. I'm going to inhale the upper arm up the inside of the lower arm. And this time you choose. Either use the middle point of using your sacrum as a lever, or just reach your arm right up. See if you can draw your navel in and find a little more rotation and opening. And exhale, thread whichever arm it is underneath. And again, see if you can find a bit of that compression. You can maybe even just kind of roll a little back and forward onto that if you can find a space for compression. Really see if you can work into the connective tissue, release some of that. And then inhale yourself back up into the cat-cow position, into our all fours position. And this time we're going to push back towards a child's pose. So again, it's your choice. You could keep your knees as they are, or you could take your knees the width of the mat, like your toes point towards each other. Both are equivalent, just one's more comfortable for some people than others. And pressing through your fingertips, push your bum in the direction of your heels. Again, it can be really good here, if they're not meeting, to shove something like a cushion between the heels and the bum so that you can get that sensation of compressing the bum in towards the heels. And then maybe walk your fingertips out in front of you. When you're doing that walking out, see if you can kind of have a word with your shoulders. Don't let the trap slide the shoulders up to close up your ears. See if you can still imagine walking your fingers away, but drawing your shoulder blades in the direction of your bum. And from here, we're going to do a little bit of lateral extension. So we're going to pad our fingers, walk them out towards the right-hand side. So still with our bums reaching towards our heels, whether or not they're meeting them. We're going to walk our fingertips. So we're bananaing the top of our bodies over towards the right-hand side. Again, watch your left hip is going to want to get involved here. See if you can still think of that left hip as being heavy, reaching back. Your shoulder blades still reaching down towards the hips. The traps easing away from your ears. And then inhale as you walk your way back to the center. Again, re-establish that position. Maybe pressing through your fingertips, feeling your heels reach towards your bottom reach towards your heels, your fingertips reach in the other direction, maybe just tiptoeing them away from you, seeing if you can encourage your brain to see the distinction between walking your fingers away, finding that extension, and drawing your shoulders towards your ears. So your fingers can be pressing into the mat while your shoulder blades are still drawing down, shortening the space between the base of your shoulder blades and your hips. And then inhale, walking your fingertips over towards the left-hand side, seeing if you can keep that right hip reaching away, still thinking of the right shoulder blade trying to reach in the opposite direction to your fingertips.
keeping some space so the traps aren't just taking over. Really see if you can get some extension down the right-hand side of your body. And then inhale, pad your fingers back to the center. And if you bring your arms about shoulders width apart, still in front of you, press into your hands. If you've got a cushion, tuck it away. Tuck your toes under and push through your hands to push your hips away, so your hip bones, your sitting bones are reaching away to the ceiling behind you, to that back corner of your room, your ceiling. You might have your legs bent here. We're creating that up inverted triangle, the downward facing dog pose. And we really want to prioritize that tall spine that we established at the beginning, that we know we're going to need. So if you find that pressing your heels in the direction of the floor compromises the length of your spine, then feel free to just release the hamstrings just a little bit. Maybe pad left foot, pad right foot, and see if in the spirit of what we've been doing, you can press your hands into the mat. Really feel like you're pressing through the pads at the bases of your fingers, especially your first finger and your thumb. Pressing down and feeling your armpits wrapping round. So you're pressing into the first finger and into the thumb and wrapping your armpits round, so that as if I wouldn't be able to see them if I came and looked at you from this side. See how much length you can feel in the armpits and down the sides of your body, really extending the lats, rather than letting the shoulders sink up towards your ears. One last breath here in downward facing dog pose. Inhaling fully, exhaling to draw navels into the spine. Find the length in the spine. And then on your next inhale, you can bring some of your weight into your hands. It's almost as if we're coming through a very high plank, walking our feet in until they come in between our hands. And we're going to lengthen out our spines parallel to the mat. Again, if you want to have a bit of a bend in your legs here, that's fine. You might want to bring your hands onto your shins or onto your thighs, so you can really draw your navel into the spine. Find that length in the spine again as you're in that parallel position, hovering over the mat. Then we're going to exhale, let your head drop as you fold down. Again, your hands might be tented, or you might have them on your shins or on your calves. And then inhale, press through your feet to roll all the way back up to standing, as if you were that sort of first evolving human being coming up to the biped position. Really feel that pressure through the mat, through the feet, to allow you to grow and roll up. Then roll your shoulders down. Hug your shoulders blades into the back of your chest, like the front of your collarbone open. And your palms might drop down so that they're facing the front of the room. It's like retraction of your chin to allow for that full cervical spine extension. So all the way from the base of your feet, where you've got a really firm foundation with the mat, drawing up through your insteps, through the insides of your legs, finding a really neutral pelvic bowl position. So that action that we were doing in the cat-cow, maybe playing with it till you find your really neutral position, still pressing strongly with the feet through the neutral pelvic bowl. Allow the spine to extend and fly, to be free. All those beads popping back in between the vertebrae, retracting the chin and finding that length, dropping your hands. And we're going to do 2 half sun salutations. For the first one, even if you've done this lots, it can be really nice. If you've got a sofa or a chair or something sturdy that would hold you, it can be really nice in the first forward fold
to get somewhere where you could drop your head and really let it take the weight of your head. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find that Samastitihi position, that standing position where we're really tall, really long. As we inhale, we're going to let our arms float up above our heads. Again, still thinking that those traps, don't get it come up around our ears. The shoulder blades are drawing down while the fingers are reaching up. You might keep them shoulder width apart, or you might bring your hands together. As you exhale, you're going to dive forward. And for this first one, I'm suggesting that you find somewhere that you can maybe really let your skull be heavy. Let your arms kind of swing and get the sensation of your hips and your sitting bones reaching really high. And while you're in that supported position, what you're doing is you're telling your hamstrings that it's safe for them to let go. So instead of them gripping and tightening and holding you back in your first forward fold, they're getting the message that it's actually quite safe to forward fold and to release and to let you go. So just take a breath or two there and explore for a moment what it feels like if you really use this support to let you press with your feet into the mat. See how that might help you lengthen a bit more in the hamstrings. Again, it's absolutely fine to have some bend here. Don't be straining or hurting anything. And one more explore. See what it feels like if you suck your navel in towards your spine. Do you feel as if you would be able to drop a little further down? Then on our next inhale, we're going to lengthen out to that position where our spine is parallel with the mat. Again, you might have your hands on your shins or on your thighs, sucking the navel into the spine, lengthening, letting the shoulder blades draw down towards the hips, looking up. And exhale this time, you don't need to put your head on the support, but see if you can drop your head down. Maybe shake it very gently, yes and no, and see how much weight you can allow now to have in the head when you take that forward fold. Inhale again to lengthen, find that parallel position, pressing the quads and the calves away towards the back of the room. The spine extends parallel to the mat. Exhale, let your head drop again. Hips are high, head's heavy. And inhale, sucking through your navel, pressing through your feet and rolling all the way back up to standing, letting your hands rise up above your head. Maybe your palms are meeting. You might gaze to your thumbs. And exhale back to Samastitihi, our equal standing position. And we're going to do a modified full sun salutation to take us into a little bit of a lunge flow. So we're going to inhale, still pressing through the feet, letting the arms float up, keeping the shoulders down, gazing towards the thumb. Going to exhale, we're going to suck our navels in towards our spine, dive forward, let our heads be heavy and our hips be high. Inhale, lengthening out, flattening that spine. Maybe hands are on the shins or thighs. And this time as we exhale, we're going to bend our knees, take our weight into our hands and step back into a high plank position for a moment. If you're comfortable in high plank, stay here, press through your hands and dome the top of your back. Or you might want to drop your knees onto the mat, but still do the same thing. So if you're dropping your knees onto the mat, we're pressing through the hands and we're doming the upper part of the back. We've still got our navels drawn into the spine. We've still got our Samastitihi spine. And we're going to exhale, keep our ribs and our elbows in really close connection and lower our bodies all the way down to the floor. We'll land on our bellies and you're going to take your hands, keep them really close to your body, either side of your chest, pressing your toes into the mat And inhaling, your upper body lifts away from the mat in a cobra position, still keeping your elbows close into the ribs. And exhale to release. You're going to press through into our hands, and you can either come through your knees or through your plank or downward facing dog until we all meet back in that inverted triangle of the downward facing dog position. Spreading your fingers, maybe bending your legs a little, finding all the extension you can between your tailbone and the crown of your head. Taking one more breath in that position, then letting your head drop and be heavy. And on your next inhale, we're just going to raise our right foot slightly behind us. It doesn't have to be high. And then as we exhale, we're going to suck as if we were sucking our knee in towards our nose, letting our weight come over into our hands and wrists, and dropping our right foot or shuffling our right foot, however we need to get it there, into a long lunge position. So into basically a runner's lunge position. So my right foot's at about 90 degrees. You don't have to worry too much if your knee does come forward. And again, you can make the choice here if you want to drop the back knee towards the mat. You might want to put a little blanket under that if you don't like the pressure on your knee, or if you want to keep your back foot up. Wherever you are, I want to see if you can try and soften now. See if you can let the weight of your body sink through your groins. See if we can really find some opening here. And a nice thing again here, if you do have blocks or books, can actually be to press through the blocks or the books or anything that lifts your chest a little, and see if that allows you to convince your body to sink or to melt a little bit more through this runner's lunge. One more breath there, whether your knees up or down. And then we're going to move into a lizard pose. So if you bring your right hand to the inside of your right foot, and maybe shuffle your right foot out towards the edge of the mat. And some of you are just going to stay there and see if you can soften into those groins. But some of you might like to let the right knee drop out to the side, and maybe the sole of the right foot to lift and open a little. Again, you can have the back knee up or down. The main emphasis here today is really seeing if we can soften into those groins. And again, some of you, once you've been here for a moment or two, might like to pad your hands forward a little bit and sink further into those groins. Just find whatever is your comfortable edge, no pain, but somewhere where you can maybe feel you are really reaching into the fascia, reaching into the connective tissue. One last breath there. And as we inhale, we're going to pad our way back up, bring our hands either side of our foot and shuffle that right foot back to center. Shuffle in the back knee a little bit and come up to like a 90-degree position into a crescent lunge. We'll inhale our arms up above our head. And as we exhale, we're going to draw them down in a cactus-like position. Still thinking about drawing that navel in towards our spine, really finding that chest and shoulder opening that rowers need so much. Inhale one more time. Let your hands either come shoulder width apart or perhaps your palms meeting if it doesn't make your shoulders cramp your ears. And exhale, really opening across the span of the hands, drawing from the elbows first, shoulder blades sliding together, opening up your chest. And then on your next inhale, you're going to drop your left hand to the inside of your right foot. And again, make your choice. You might want to bring your right hand, the back of your right hand to the sacrum, and open and rotate to the right hand side using that lever. Or some of you might like to open up the right hand towards the ceiling, maybe gazing towards the thumb. Whatever you're doing, explore what it feels like to draw the navel towards the spine and see if that gives you a little more rotation. And exhale, bringing both of your hands down now to frame your front foot, tucking your left toes in, pressing into your hands and stepping back through high plank. Take a moment to find that dome. And as you exhale, push back, hips high into that inverted triangle of the downward facing dog position. We're not going to stay here this time, but we're going to repeat that lunge sequence on the left-hand side. And inhale to gently lift the left leg. Exhale to suck the navel into spine, drawing the knee in the direction of your nose, dropping your foot wherever it lands and shuffling it until it's in between your hands and you're in a shape of a runner's lunge. Making your choice about dropping your knee or keeping that back leg raised. But most of all, thinking about how much you can soften through the groins here. We spend a lot of time doing the really roughy, tufty tightening. We really want to get into the psoas, into the hip flexors, and see if we can find a little bit of mobility in here and softening. Again, the blocks or books are really good for this. In some ways, you feel you can get more into it. One last breath there. And on your next inhale, you can maybe get rid of your blocks if you're using them. And we're going to bring our left hand to the inside of the left foot, shuffle the left foot wide out on the mat, maybe dropping the left knee out. Again, making your choice about where the back knee is. Is it up or is it lowered? Take a moment to soften in and either staying there or maybe padding your hands out and down. And seeing if you can sink with every exhale just a little bit further. Not so much stretching as releasing through the psoas, through the hip flexors. And on your next inhale, padding your way back up, shuffling the left foot back in between the hands to center, shuffling the right knee in a little and coming up to that crescent position. Again, we're going to do our cactus. Really good to get open across the chest for us. Inhaling our arms up, exhaling, find that full span across your fingers, really tensioning, drawing through your elbows, opening up your chest. And then inhaling the arms back up, exhaling again, finding the full tensioning across the fingers. Elbows are leading, shoulder blades are drawing together. They're pushing into the back of the chest, opening the chest and the collarbone. And then on your next inhale, taking your right hand to the inside of your left foot and choosing your rotation. So we're going to press through the right hand, going to suck the navel into the spine. We might have the left hand at the back of the sacrum, levering that rotation, or we might be opening up with the left hand. Again, whatever you're doing, drawing the navel to the spine and trying to keep the shoulder from crawling its way up towards your ears. Exhale, bringing both hands down to frame your front foot, tucking the toes of your right leg, taking weight into your hands, stepping back through high plank, into downward facing dog, and this time sinking down onto your knees and pushing back through that curve that we used before into your preferred child pose. So whether it's with your knees wide, your knees narrow, thinking about gently tiptoeing the hands in the opposite direction to the shoulder blades. Shoulder blades are reaching towards your bum. Your bum's reaching towards your heels. Again, if your bum is hovering, it is really, really nice to get something in between, like a cushion or a pillow, something off the sofa,
to really get a sense of what it's like to press through the hands and get some compression of the hips and a connection between the hips and the heels here. Take just a couple of inhales and exhales, thinking about that breathing we were doing at the beginning. Really filling the full vessel on the inhale, drawing the navel to spine, flushing out the stale air on the exhale. One more time like that, really finding the belly, the rib space, the thoracic space, right up to your collarbones, into the back of your shoulder blades. And exhaling as you suck that navel in towards the spine. And really flush out all of the air. On your next inhale, you can pad your way back up to kneeling and then shuffle your bums down onto the mat and your feet out in front of you as we lower ourselves down onto our backs for a little bit of a supported bridge and the beginning of our closing sequence. So for supported bridge, we're going to do some back bends to counteract all the forward folds that we've been doing. Same principle, really thinking about finding the foundations of our feet. Spread your toes as wide as you can. Your feet are about hip distance apart. And they're just about the point where you almost think you could reach your heels with your fingers, but you can't quite. Opening across our chest, thinking about maybe walking our shoulder blades a little bit underneath us, palms facing up towards the ceiling. And on your next inhale, imagine you're pressing your knees away over your toes. And as you do that, your bum begins to lift, but it's not like a great big glute bridge where you're really working the glutes. You've lifted it through that process of pushing the knees away and thinking about adducting, about drawing the insides of your thighs together as if you were squeezing a block between the knees. And see how much you can use that pressure between the legs to allow you to open up the chest. And maybe opening your eyes, looking towards the ceiling. And exhale to roll back down, one vertebrae at a time. We're going to take a little supine twist from here. So you might want to bring both of your feet together. You can keep them a little wider if that's more comfortable, but you might want to bring them a bit closer together. And maybe taking your arms out wide in a T shape. You inhale where you are. And as you exhale, allow both of your knees to drop down towards the right-hand side. You might feel this across the left hip. See if instead of resisting it, you can breathe in to that area. Really try and give your body the sense that it's okay, it's safe. Thanks very much for the message, but you can let go now. If your knees are hovering, again, it's really great to put something underneath them. Really change that messaging in the body. And then over time, it will just shift. Inhale, drawing both of your knees back to the center. We're going to do the same on the other side. So exhaling to drop both knees towards the left-hand side. Again, if there's any resistance in that right hip, see if you can find that very calm, very regulating breath that we've been using. Maybe lengthening on your exhale. Really letting that body know that you're aware that it needs to lengthen here. But that it's okay for it to do that. There's nothing's going to happen. Again, maybe supporting the left knees with a cushion or a block if they are hovering and resisting. And then inhale, bringing both of your knees back to center and finding whatever position you like for a bit of an inversion. So really just trying to get our heads above our bodies. So you might like to do a dead bug. So both your hands and your feet straight up and maybe rotating
your ankles and rotating your wrists here. You might like to put your legs up the wall, shuffling your bum to the base of the wall and getting your legs supported on the wall, or letting your legs bend at the knees and rest on your sofa or on a table can be really, really lovely. You might even choose to stay there for relaxation. And some of you might like a happy baby when your hands come in between your legs and maybe take the outside of your calves or your feet. Your sacrum stays towards the floor. Your feet, the soles of your feet are looking up towards the ceiling, and you might want to take a little bit of a roll here, a little massage onto your sacrum. Especially nice after the forward folds, the lunges. And then from there, just make your way to whatever is your favorite position for relaxation. We get a blanket on. You're welcome to keep your legs up the wall if that suits you. Just find yourself somewhere you can be still for the next 5 minutes or so. I'll talk you through a relaxation, and then you'll know it's come to an end. I'll chant you out with the closing Ashtanga chant, which asks that everybody be well and everybody be happy. And then you're welcome to ask me questions, but if you just want to stay resting and at peace, please feel free to do that. So wherever you are now, really allow yourself to sink into your mat. And see if you can make yielding and melting really quite an active decision. I'm going to let go. See how much weight you can find in your skull, in the backs of your shoulders, that whole back of your pelvis, how heavy and weighted it can be. And feel the backs of your calves sinking, your heels weighted, almost making a dent in the ground. And see if you can very, very gently allow yourself to get a sensation all the way from the very top of the back of your skull, from the crown, all the way down the back of your body, a crick in the back of your neck, down your spine, the back of your ribs, back of your hips, back of your thighs, back of your calves, and into those heels, so all the way from the back of the crown of the head to the back of the heels. Feel that weight grounding and sinking down. From the tips of your toes, across the front of your feet, the front of your calves, your shins, your knees, front of your thighs. Feel a lightness, a light glow emerge. Feel that weight slips away into the back of your body. And the whole of the front of your legs, from the tips of your toes, the tops of your feet, your shins, your knees, your thighs, right across the front of your pelvis, your lower belly, and the belly button, the front of the ribs. Feel that light sensation, all the weight melted away. A glow emerging from the tips of the toes, spreading up across that belly, the front of the ribs, the front of the thoracic space, across your collarbone, the front of your throat, Like feeling that glow all the way from the toes. The tension melts out, spreading across your throat, releasing your jaw left to right, right to left. Spreading across your face, your cheekbones, your forehead, and your left ear, your right ear, to the crown of your head, the whole of the front of your body, from the tip of your toes to the crown of your head, light, floating, glowing. Whole of the back of your body, from the top of the crown down the skull, all the way to the heels, weighted, released. Let all of that activity integrate in the body and release through every tissue, every cell of the body. Jasti prajabhyaha paripalayantam nyayena margena mahimaisha go brahmanebhyaha shubhamastu nityam loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. I'm wishing you all a really peaceful evening. Thank you so much for coming along. And I hope you can take as much time as you possibly can. Really sink into that relaxation. Just let your bodies go. And I'll see you all next week.